There's a lot of poor me stuff going on in K-12, pre-K-12 education. But oh my gosh, we have the most amazing opportunities. We have more integrated classrooms in lots of places. We have books to choose from that we never dreamt we'd have. We have technology, we have all these things. We can tap into, we can talk to authors. We can Skype with a classroom somewhere else. We can see their playground. We can have conversations from real child to real child. We never could have done that before. And it doesn't cost to Skype. It doesn't cost to do some of these things. So it's really an amazing time, and I think that's really important. For me, the beginning of it, seeing it as amazing, well, there were some earlier things, but the barcode, to me, was a magic key. That with a QR code, the kids can unlock things that we couldn't have done before. So this little school I'm working at, the Marietta School, there's the reading coach, the school, came to the first meeting I had with them in January, and all the teachers got their iPads. And we had one for her. And she didn't know how to turn it on. She didn't know, she kept saying, which way's up? We were saying, it doesn't matter. No, which way's up? 6 weeks later, I was there. She's a magical storyteller. She's one of those people who, I wanted to record her just reading a book to the kids. She's magical with these 3-year-olds. Have 3-year-olds sit and listen, you know, that's not easy. But what was amazing is 6 weeks in, she had printed out QR codes, so when she finished her story, the kids walked up with their iPads, scanned the QR code, and watched a video of the book with a different ending. 3-year-olds. Now, they didn't have headphones, it was chaotic, there was all this sound, it didn't matter to any of them. They were all watching that video. That's the magic time we live in. So we look at these things and we think, oh, it's just a QR code, no big deal. It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal what it does. I've used this picture for a long time, and I know some of you may have seen it. We were making patterns, and the child made this pattern, and then everybody thought the child failed because the child didn't follow. We all thought it was vanilla chocolate, vanilla. Oops, I lost concentration. Right, Darren? Lost concentration.
Yeah.
But if I played the video, we don't have a real video, but if I played the video, her little voice would have told you it's going left, going right, going right, going left, going right, going right. Wow. The teacher would have marked this child as someone who needed extra help. In reality, this child is way ahead. Right. We don't get that without capturing that voice. And in a classroom of 27 children, you're not going to catch all their voices. But they can capture their own voices. There's the magic, right? This young lady, this other one in the corner, this little girl, unbeknownst to me, let me see if I can get the video to play. Unbeknownst to me, I was volunteering in this classroom, and she had this picture she'd drawn, kindergartner, and she was desperately trying to get the teacher's attention to tell her about this picture. The teacher was very busy with a little tussle that had happened in the dress-up center, dramatic play center, sorry. And so I said, well, Charles, come tell me. And so wait, let's record it. Unbeknownst that it was this magical moment.
This is Nicholas, and this is Bill, and this is William Blanket Outer Space. And this is Brody, and this is I don't know. And this is a monster that's going to get us for all one guess. This is the little monkey that
She points to each of those people, see the little red dot? And she's saying, this is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so. And this is a child who they thought was totally unaware of other people and their names. These are the children who sit at her table every day, and including her parents, knew. She really knew who they were and their names. Wow. Magical moment, caught by a foolish person like me who had no idea it was important, but I knew, I told her, well, record it so your teacher can hear you later. And there were people weeping that night.
exactly for the kid that in that class that speaks Urdu and feels completely unheard. And in that moment, you just let them record. And then when the parents pick them up, or you can play it for the parents over the phone.
Or you put it on a blog.
Life-changing moment just from recording those kids.
Absolutely. And I recorded it this time, but from then on, the kids all started recording their own. We don't have to do it for them. We can't add another task to a classroom. We can't. They have to do it themselves. So she did say by the end of that that's a heart in the sky and we all love each other. This is a child they didn't think had any social attachment at school. Magical, right?
Because it's
simple. It's safe. Is it a great audio recording? No, it doesn't matter. We don't tell everyone to be quiet because someone's going to record. We just let it happen. So we have these technologies that make it simple. The reason I have the QR code there is, if we have that recording, we should paste that poster up on the wall with the QR code so anyone who wants to hear can scan that with their smartphone and listen to her tell her story. Listen to the children tell their pattern. Carry the voice with them. They're not ready to write whole sentences or words yet. They're 3, 4. These are 5-year-olds, but still. So we have this capability that we've never had, and it makes it really important. Now, what about all this augmented reality stuff? My perfect example to me is the first, where you get your first down, when they project that on that yellow line on the football field, and we go to the game, it's not really there.
That confused
And
me.
they do such a good job of it, because look, it's under that chain, and it's behind the hand. To me, that's still magic.
That's not real?
It's not.
And on the hockey thing,
Yes.
it's not real either.
Yeah, it is so
Nice.
when we think about that, they
What else
can
isn't
do
real?
that where it's moving. And we're going to look at a couple augmented reality examples here, and I know there are others who are going to share some augmented reality. I think it's another opportunity to think about what could be. I don't want to offend anyone, but I'll tell you that I think a lot of the augmented reality stuff is all gee whiz and no wow. Or all wow and so what. We have to be watchful. I have a couple examples that I think really show promise, but I don't have a lot that I think are the most magical. I think I'll switch to a couple of those apps. So, you guys know these? Have you seen these ever? Okay, so there's an app called Elements 4D. and all that stuff. So what happens with Elements is you can buy wooden cubes, but I'm cheap, so I use the free paper ones you print and glue together. When I point my iPad, you see what happens? I'm now seeing that element. Oh. Right? So this is what iodine looks like. Let's see what oxygen looks like. My cube's falling apart, but it'll still work. Oxygen looks like absolutely nothing, and why is that? It's a gas, right? So we can't see it.
You know, it's not too early to get into the beer.
I think maybe
You think
it
we
feels
should be
like
seeing
we already
things.
have, right? So we have all these cubes of things, and they do allow us to put them together. I don't know if anything happens with these two, because I am not a scientist. Nothing happens. So some of them will actually start to shake. See how it's shaking? What does that tell you if you know chemistry?
Unstable.
They're unstable, right? If I could find quickly,
Hit the floor.
my trick is always I can't find the one I'm looking for, but if I put H and O together, it inaccurately shows water. Why is that inaccurate? It's H2O. So this is a product that's designed to show to me promise, right? Because it's not correct to say one H and one O makes water, but it gives us that start. So I was looking at this app and this capability, and I'll put them over on the table and you can play with them. So if I take these as elements, that's not early childhood literacy kind of thing. But what if this one were animals? And when I pointed my iPad at it, I saw a real elephant and a real aardvark. And I could have the other one be an action in whatever language I chose. I could have a block of English actions and a block of Spanish actions, and it would say runs, sleeps, eats. And when I put them together, I'd see that animal do that action. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
That doesn't exist, except in my mind, and now yours. But that's what I mean by promise. is that this, then we could be saying, this one could be colors. Purple, elephant eats. Wouldn't that be cool? Couldn't kids learn language? Could we play with language? What do you think?
I would wait for more meat because it sounds cool, but what you described so far
Is a phrase.
Well, it's really, it could be visual.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have the blocks, but there could be more to it like that, like building up and out and not just a linear sentence, but the sentence and a branch or, you know.
Could be. I think that's down further, even further
That's
down
what
than
I'm
this.
saying, like,
Yep.
I could see that, but.
But having a physical manipulative has some power for kids.
Right, if it goes
As opposed
somewhere.
to just moving. I agree.
Yeah, the relationships actually have meaning. So
Right.
Yes.
it could be, you know, different kinds of food. And
Yes.
then you have the elephant, and are they gonna actually eat
Or do
that
they walk
food that
away?
came up
Right.
or not?
Yeah.
Or predators and prey.
Oh, yeah,
Or is it
that's
using
a
like
good
classes of vertebrates,
Yeah.
amphibians, reptiles, what do they have that's the same?
Right,
Yep.
that's in
And
common,
what, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Or protagonists for a story.
yeah.
Settings
And-
for a story.
and the
So it becomes a
choices they
virtual
make. Right.
kind of thing. So I'm showing this not because I have an answer, but I think it's something to ponder, right? Is that when we combine this kind of physicalness of augmented reality, what our possibilities
But
might be.
I think what's hard about it is, your first reaction is to think, well, how can I take what I've always done and what we've always read and what a story, what a sentence looks like, right?
Of course.
And then just put blocks on it. When what we really need to do is, you know, have somebody come around and smack us in the head and unthink a sentence and
Yes.
rethink, what do blocks mean for communication and literacy, right? And-
Right,
And
right.
undo those things instead of trying to duplicate them with blocks.
I agree. And I think that the reason I'm showing these isn't because I think they're the answer.
Right,
I think
but-
they're the question. Right? So this is just, you can do it with anatomy. This is anatomy 4D. And I have this diagram of the heart. They do it with the whole body, but that gets giggles. So I leave heart instead. If it loads. There it is. So when I point this at this, there's the heart.
How does it do that?
I have no clue. Magic is my standard answer. I can hide certain things. I can get rid of the valves, and I can. Obviously, this is not little kids' thing, probably.
I know
I
the two
can turn
teachers
off-
that work for this company now, Daiquiri.
Yeah.
Do you know them?
Yes, the two guys.
Yeah,
Brad and- yeah.
Yeah, Brad and Wade.
I can. By the
Brad
way.
Wade.
Yeah, Brad and Wade. That's
Drew.
right.
No, Brad Wade is one of them, and Drew.
Oh, yeah.
Drew Minna.
Be still my heart. I can
Oh,
turn-
good.
So ideas about, you know, what other kinds of things could we have flat that we could then look at from all sides? So in a book, we could see the other side of something or the inside of something. I think there's power to possibility.
I think they're using that now in
This is a
surgery,
very
too.
different one. Now, this is
Medical
definitely
procedures.
literature, and I brought crayons and I was going to have you color, but I won't, for the sake of time, I won't. But Arloon Kids, which is now a new company name, has a Tortoise and the Hare app, and you print out pictures for them to color. Well, I'm not a big into having people coloring books, but so these you can see. So here's what happens. This is not like Crayola Colors Alive where the picture just pops up off the paper, because I don't think that that's anything very exciting. But this might be more interesting. Zentia is what it's called now. Hard to find this app, by the way. You have to really hunt for it. It's not straightforward. And there are about 1 million tortoise and hare apps. This is the app. I have 2 language choices, but because of who I am, I'm going to do it in English. Now it's going to ask me to scan my drawing. Please note the hare has purple pants. Okay? Now look at the hare. I can show you that the hare has purple pants. Let me get the tortoise. Now, what's cool about that is when I start the book, the characters
The
are in the book
tortoise and the hare.
and the environment the way they were colored on the paper. The pink tree. Do you see what it's done? The characters are, well, when I get started, let me move it forward.
Do you have to use their, like, markers?
No.
Once
just-
upon a
it's
time, in
scanning
the
this
animal
picture.
kingdom,
It's just scanning
there
it.
lived a proud hare.
Oh, I get,
You can use crayons.
He was a very speedy hare
Yeah.
who was constantly bragging about
So
being the
there's the drawing the
fastest in
person
the
did.
forest.
and there he is in the story. Because he drew,
The hare was
Purple
fond of
ground?
teasing the tortoise for being so slow.
here's the tortoise. Now,
Then one day, the tortoise, tired of being laughed at,
see his blue
proposed to bet.
splotches?
"I'm sure I can beat you in a race," said the tortoise. "Beat me? That is impossible," shouted.
Now, do I love the font? Is it my favorite story? No. But the promise of having kids create the colors for the illustrations in your book and the environment for your book, isn't that cool? So like in your book, if they could have put their own wallpaper on, doesn't change the story, brings them into the story. This doesn't change the story at all, but it makes my tortoise and my hair. There's possibilities there. Possibilities. I don't think this is the perfect app, but I think this is a really interesting way to draw kids in. And maybe there'd be some random things they have to color. They don't know where it's going to come in your story, but if suddenly, when the toy box opens, it's the teddy bear they drew or whatever it is, there's possibility in this kind of thing. This is not, I don't think, done by anyone else. Have you seen anyone else do this kind of thing?
Color?
Doesn't have a story. It's just
Right.
a picture that pops off the screen. It
Yeah,
doesn't have
exactly.
any meaning.
Yeah, I like this. I
Yeah.
think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I've used this in my practice, and the two kids that I've done it with were just overjoyed and thrilled to see their drawing come to life in the story. It made the investment and the motivation to go through the whole story so much more. So.
And, you know, I've done this in conferences, and there'll be all these educators, and as people are coming in, I'll hand out the coloring pages and some crayons to a few people who get there early. And if I don't show their character in the story, they're so disappointed.
Yeah.
So even at the adults, right, there's some buy-in to having our illustration. Now, I will tell you that if I had to freehand draw my tortoise or my hare, I'm the kind of person who would not have wanted to do that. Because I know I'm not a good artist.
Yeah.
But to color in that picture, however I wanted, was really engaging. Yes?
What if the characters from the story you showed us before, the school, the 5-year-olds, can that be translated or not yet?
Not yet.
But to see those drawings, you know, which were
To
beautiful
have
5-year-old
children's
drawings.
drawings in an app is hard. There are a couple of things they're trying to do that. And I might have time to show you. There's great promise. It's promising, I think. And I think that it's, when I look at like your book and other books, there's potential without changing the feel, the content, the facial expressions to let a child design the hat, you know, to do whatever the little things are to bring them in. It's not perfect. No translators are perfect. But let's look at what this, or people, what this is going to try to do is working to translate.
Yeah, that's hard because of the font.
Yeah, but it is getting a lot of it, it's changing.
It's constantly rescanning. So if you think about that, if I was a struggling reader, maybe a third grader, that even if it didn't tell me all of the words, it might tell me enough to get it.
Right.
Right? And no one has to tell me. I can do that on my own. And I'm crooked, but there it's going to... Sniffles, Sarah. Oh, it changed. Look, it's trying all the different words it thinks sniffle could be. So while WordLens isn't perfect, we're getting there. There are apps now that allow you, if you're walking down the street in some major cities around the world, that you can just open up the camera and it's going to tell you what the buildings are. And it will tell you what's in them. Or it will tell you the history. So we're laying that augmented reality, we're augmenting what's there with something else. Wouldn't it be great to make that for your school? So when the new kid comes in, they walk along with their buddy and they can point it and it tells them some basic information. Wouldn't that be cool? And their friend can say, yeah, that nurse is really cool. That's what her door looks like. See, we're at her door. For some inside information, or for parents. So we have these capabilities that are just, I think, pretty magical possibilities. This book, I brought this, it does have an augmented reality app. It's not the best, most well done. And the book is mostly out of print now, which is kind of funny that it has a AR app. But in this book, it's all about dancing to the feed. So what you get is just the pop-up of the characters dancing. It doesn't really add that much. It's kind of like some of those other wow things where you kind of go, well, what might that be? I'm not sure. But I think there are some capabilities. So if you're reading about a horse pulling a cart, to actually maybe have as reality, virtual reality added, what that looks like, because I've never seen a horse pull a cart. Instead of just the static drawing, I could see the video or the animation. Those are things you can see. Do you know this one, Noisy Neighbors, Warren?
Noisy neighbors!
Noisy neighbors!
What's his voice?
That was spooky. You know you've looked at too many
Sid the
apps.
snail wants a nap in his favourite tree. Shh. But those chirping sparrows are as loud as can be.
I touched the plus in the corner, and now I can add things to the book, the story. Oh, cool. Okay. I can also turn on and off the sound that's already there. There are some instructions built into it. We'll see. The allotments, that's one of my favorite words in this book.
But that's what they have in England. Like
Yes.
my kids talk about.
It's very British.
The allotment seems cosy and quite quiet too.
And there's some little things, but we get to continue to add. These are the singing foxes. Maybe. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss. Who's singing? Hello, my baby. I'm making it start again just for you. So there's all of this story about all the noises in the garden. And you can add characters, and you can record sounds for your little things you add, and have your own sounds in the garden. So that is an augmented reality. That's augmented writing. Well, we're taking someone else's work and adding to it ourselves as children or adults. I'll admit, I played with that app. I thought it was pretty fun to work with. Of course, what's the interaction? I think that's what people start. I'm not saying it couldn't be done, because Scholastic is an old app. How long has this been out? Forever. Scholastic's Ladybug app, which is nonfiction for little ones.
Touch the look, a ladybug. It's an
It's not a
insect
photograph.
because it has 6 legs. Do you see the little claws at the bottom of its feet? Thanks to these claws, the ladybug can climb all over.
I happen to hate the
Turn the
narration
ladybug
voice.
around with your finger to get a good look.
It does it up too
Ladybugs can
cutesy
fly.
for me.
Can you find its wings?
And the wings are hidden, so there's a lot of conversation about the wings. It goes through and teaches a lot
The
about it.
ladybug's wings are hidden on its back. It has 4, 2 solid.
Limited interaction, but some.
When it's resting, the ladybug hides its transparent wings.
I'm moving it
Most
fast.
often, ladybugs are red with black spots, but they don't always have the same number of spots.
And so on.
There are lots of different types of ladybugs. They're not always red. They can be lots of other colors and lots of different
Now
patterns.
tell me, why are those
The
there?
dice to discover
Right,
all the
that's confusing.
different ladybugs.
She finally tells you it's all the different ladybug types. I don't see how that translates.
No, show me the
Because
ladybug types.
If you turn your
This is
iPad
how it
around, they
translates.
move. So what does that have to do?
But this is how it translates. When I actually touch them, I'm seeing what real ladybugs might look like.
Yeah, you
But
don't
this
have to
piece,
tumble. Yeah. Gratuitous.
exactly.
It's abusive to
It is abusive. But wait, did that come from the band that used Barbie as a drum beat?
Touch the scared.
So this one's about eating the aphids and so on. So I think that, this is promise. Do I think that's a perfect app? No way. But do I think it shows promise? Yes, it shows some promise. Because there are very few good nonfiction things for kids, the little ones. Very few. I haven't. Do you have very many that you think of, Warren? Do you have nonfiction for young, like first grade, second grade, and under?
Well, I like the Peapod a lot because they're just beautiful photos. They're authentic.
Right.
And And they're open for exploration, that's the other
They
thing
are.
I like about them. They, you know, you can just explore whatever interests you at any given time and build your own context and what they have, I mean, they have so much.
But there would be others in the room who may be being quiet who would say, but there's not a
Yeah.
lot of sentence structure or,
Right.
Little explorers, ABC wildlife.
this is what we were talking about, just in case.
B, bear.
Right?
The Tiny Bob apps.
Yeah, some of the tiny buff apps.
Yeah,
Yep.
the human body
Yeah,
particularly
that was a good one.
is exceptional.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I also think YouTube Kids should be at some point in our discussion because it is nonfiction or fiction
Well,
in
Did you read my
nonfiction.
review of it?
No.
I did not. I'm not a fan
Well,
because parents think it keeps their kids safe. Just try to search on birthday. By the time you get to birth, you're watching Elsa from Frozen give birth to a baby and helping cut the umbilical cord. I was done.
How did I miss that? We do need to look at it.
Yeah, we can look at
Because
it.
That was supposed to be in the original movie.
Yeah, it was. They cut it. The time, yeah.
Oh, Bats is one you should look at.
What?
Bats. Bats.
Bats.
B-A-T-S.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So this is I threw this in not because it was augmented reality, but because this is one of my favorite children's book apps because of what it does beyond the book. So they have I think 8 free books from Collins Big Cat Publishers. They're British publishers, and they are all very different. They publish these apps for free in order to drive people to their company to buy print books. When I choose Reads Me, we'll just see a little bit of it. Now the sound's quiet.
Written and illustrated by Tim Hopgood and read by me, Keith Gregson. It was a cold, dark night, and the wind was blowing.
There are very few touch spots or anything. There's some just small ones,
Meg,
not much.
the hedgehog, was looking for a home.
So I don't happen to be a fan of having the words highlighted. I think I happen to think that that's good for kids. That's a controversial statement to make. I tend to not love Grandma and Me because it was all about clicking on pictures, not paying attention to stories. So I kind of like that. So this is just Gail Lovely's review. So this is a nice, friendly book. But what I really like about it are a couple of things that happen. You can see here it says read by myself. I can then go to a page and I can record, maybe. And you can see that I can have up to 3 different tracks recording now. Then when I choose when it's read to me, I can choose the narrator or one of these 3 tracks. So one of the classrooms I worked with had a parent come in who spoke Hmong. And she recorded the tracks in her approximation of the story in Hmong. Doesn't change the text. The text is going to be the text. Right. But the children could hear the story they were then familiar with in another language.
And it didn't have to be word for word,
No.
matchy-matchy, going into the content and the meaning of the story.
Right, so it's just hearing the story being told page by page in another language. And it's very simple to do. So that's one of the things I like. Here's the other thing I really like, is it has a built-in story creator. Now I know you didn't see the whole story about Ned looking for his home, but this is what I really like. And the story creator is able to mix real photographs with the artist's illustrations. So when I'm building my scenes, I can choose any background I want, but I can also choose what characters I want. And I can record a story. So I'm now using bits and pieces of the story's environment along with photographs similar to the story environment and making my own story. Or just telling about that part, or whatever I want. Karen, what's wrong?
I'm really happy.
Oh, okay, you're sitting.
Oh my God. Because imagine then too, if you started with this app and everybody in the class got the hang of it, then you brought in Draw and Tell or My Story, and then they would know how to do it. Like they would have, you know, I mean, it's a great connection, but you've got like this really good literature and these beautiful illustrations to start with, so it's not always
Right.
the kids' stuff.
And I don't have to create the same story, but I have some of the same things. So if I'm building real world vocabulary with illustrated.
So you're happy.
I love this.
Karen's happy?
Karen's happy.
It's just a brief moment, don't.
Let me just get this on. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen Nemeth is happy.
Oh, what a moment.
And it's free, Karen.
And this is amazing because you know, as probably better than I do, how many children's book publishers publish the free app from the famous, well-known app developer Crack, where they like make it like some beautiful story that we love, and then they just make it into a coloring page and call it an app.
Yes.
Like, oh, that will drive people to buy our book. But I guess what the thing that's amazing me about and why I was looking so amazed is all of this. How would I know that? If you didn't, like if I was breezing through and I saw the cover of the book by Tim Hopgood, I would think, oh, it's just another book. How would I know that it had all these layers? That is, this discoverability thing bothers me as a customer as much as it does about working in the field.
Now, exactly. I mean, it's a one of those hidden gems, right? It's a free app, and so often we see free apps, and it's like, oh, it's a free alphabet app, but it only goes to C.
Yes.
You know, or you can count 3, but that's all.
Right.
So be aware. Not all of their apps are this content, but they all have these features. So there's like one about recycling and taking things to the dump and recycling, and there's riding a bicycle and all those things.
The exact title of it, so you don't get it
It's
wrong.
in
the cold dark night.
Yeah, but if you'd go look for Big Cat books, that's the easiest way to find it.
Right.
Okay, but here's what the icon looks like. See, it says C Collins.
Oh, it's
Big
like
Cat.
C. Collins. Oh, it's because I have the Big Cat one.
Well, these are all Collins Big Cat is the publisher.
Yeah, but I have the cat one. There's a cat one.
I'm sure they have 8 titles.
Yeah.
I just have 2 on here because my iPad's
I just
full.
didn't realize they had this whole set.
Doesn't matter how big the iPad storage is, I fill it up, and it's full. I think I don't want to run too long. I don't like to get the hook, but let me just, I wanted to show, because I knew there were some people here who, I know Warren talked about this support, but I just wanted to show one more. When he was talking about the scaffolding. Now, of course, there's a reason why I like this book the best, because Tacky has a special friend. So I'm gonna, you see his companions?
Lovely. That's lovely.
Sky. Lovely. Angel. Perfect. Snow. Ice. Ice.
I know why she likes this.
Companions.
I'm this one.
Lovely.
The yellow bow tie is me. So, this is pretty nice. You realize that's me reading that. So I can also do my own voiceover in this book. So when this page was read, it was my voiceover. So if I spoke a dialect or whatever was going on, I could say it a different way.
Fish sandwich. Ice. Mountains.
But look at, if you're struggling with vocabulary, it's in context of a cute story. It's not like, oh, now I'm going to go do my vocabulary app. No, it's I'm going to play with this book.
You could repeat it as many times as you wanted to till you really got it.
Yeah.
But I will say, it occurred to me earlier, I don't know if you both realized how many of your favorite apps that you've showed all day where the narrator has an English accent. Like,
well, you know, the Brits are way ahead of us.
Our top of the heap apps.
Yeah. Okay, so this is one that I'm not sure what I do with it, but I think it's really creative and interesting. So it's I can play these. Okay, so these are just a piece of paper, right? Nothing magical here. But when the app sees them and connects them, then
Oh man, I
Zero graph or something?
it's
had the red wine.
more wine, more wine. So
Wait, that line's moving.
this is a big so what in a way, but think about the possibilities, right? This is another one of those. We got to start thinking outside of where we are now, because if we're thinking about where we are now, it's too late. It's already happened.
What is this called?
Okay, so this is a part. This is a part of Enchantium. So this is also Enchantium, This is not purposeful yet, but it basically takes a still picture and makes an interactive story. Let's see if I can get it to. So it's going to actually take, this is a very funny thing, things that are sitting around. Can I take this off?
Sure.
And add them to they become, oh, did it already do it? Let's see what it's going to try to find things in my, like I did with salt and pepper shakers or whatever. And it adds those things into the story as the interactive elements. It's going to struggle with this right now, so we might not do it. See how it's spinning around that? So it's picking up that, but I don't know that it's going to pick up anything else. They have to be pretty high contrast. And then there's just a character who's wandering around and doing things. Only it doesn't have a complete story. It's a prototype just to show what could be. I know you talked about my book, so let's just look at Book Creator for just a second. I think it's probably the one is the most. This is the Cherokee book. Okay, just so you see how how easy this is. I'll just go ahead and so this you see all the syllabary, and she was really cute. She said, I need to put credits. So those are her kids, and that's a QR code to her blog, which is a huge deal for this teacher to have a blog this early on having these things. But let's see how easy this is to do. Let me just take not her book, but some other book and tear it apart. So this is at that same school. The kids just gotten their iPads, and we've done a lot of photo safaris. Let's go on a walk and find things that say S. They go out and find S's or whatever it is they were studying, or purple, or a certain shade. So how easy is that? You touch the plus sign at the top. You say, I want to add a photo. I'm going to go to my camera roll. Oh, sorry, I have this future daughter-in-law trying on the gowns. Oh, here's a tornado drill.
That was an accident there, Gail.
There's the tornado drill. I want to add a voiceover for that. We're pretending there's a tornado coming, but it's not really coming.
This is Texas.
There it is. This is actually Oklahoma. There's that. It's there. So it's that easy. So I could then say this is English, and we could have it in Spanish, Cherokee, French. And if I wanted to, I could add video, a new sign language, someone speaking it so we can watch how their mouth moves or doing speech language stuff. And it's that simple.
Yeah, what I was getting at was something just slightly different. That one of the things we try to teach in media literacy is the core concept is that all media are constructed, and just understanding that concept.
Oh, yeah.
Media are things that are made, right? So if you take a story, that's a story they are reading, and one track is the voiceover. If they're encouraged to think about, so what sounds go with that picture? If you were standing in that picture, what would you hear? And make that soundtrack of sound effects and sounds in the picture and things like that. And then use a third track so that the kids could actually talk about what they're doing, so that you could hear that narration of their understanding.
Okay, we're gonna
be amazing.
We're gonna do that. Now we have we can't loop it in this, but yes. So now we have the tornado soundtrack. Obviously that's simplified, but yes.
And can you play them all at once?
Yes.
So
you can play it. This actually has the ability to by page add a sound for the page or for the whole book. So we could have a soundtrack. And then what's nice about this is these can be exported in all the usual ways. We can export to other apps. So if we want to put it into another app, we can put it in our Dropbox and open it again somewhere else, or we can export as video or as an iBook or as an ebook. There you go. So we're starting to see kids want to add the sound effects. There were these 2 4-year-olds we were working with, and they wanted to do one about cars and car crashing. And so they started with drawing them, and that was too hard if you're 4. So then they wanted to videotape, and they were going to take the cars in the play center, and they were going to crash them. And then one of the little girls came over and said, "I'll be the Abilene. I'll be the Abilene," which meant ambulance. And so then they didn't have an ambulance, and so they asked the teacher if they could paint the car white, and she said no. And I was like, so then I made up a story about how ambulances don't have to be white, it'll be okay, and they continued, and they hadn't finished when I was last there. So I just think that this is the thinking beyond the book part, and about what we can add to book to enhance, not just to make it fancy. Some of the things I showed are kind of about making fancy, and that's okay. But the so what is one of the most important questions. So here's the big picture though, right? The app is only as good as how we use it and what effect it has on kids, right? It comes down to that. So I have had to take some pretty bad apps and do something magical with them, but it's much better to take a good app and make magics, or get a magical app and make miracles. So that's the goal, right?
Good question.